Have you ever felt lonely even while sitting in a room full of people? It's one of the most confusing experiences we can have because loneliness isn't always about being physically alone. Sometimes it's the feeling that no one truly understands what's happening inside your mind. You smile, you answer messages, you go to work, you take care of your family, you do everything you're supposed to do, and yet there's a quiet part of you that keeps wondering why you still feel disconnected. The truth is, many people are carrying this feeling right now, but very few ever talk about it. We live in a world where we're encouraged to share our best moments, our biggest achievements, our happiest photos, but almost nobody teaches us how to share our fears, our doubts, or the moments when we simply don't feel like ourselves anymore. So instead, we hide them. We tell everyone we're fine because it's easier than trying to explain emotions we don't fully understand ourselves. What's fascinating is that we've never been more connected than we are today. We can reach almost anyone within seconds. We can see what our friends are doing, where they're traveling, what they're eating, what they're celebrating. We carry thousands of connections in our pockets every single day. Yet, despite all this technology, millions of people describe themselves as feeling lonely. Why? Because being connected isn't the same as feeling understood. Someone can know your favorite color, your birthday, your job title, and still have no idea what keeps you awake at night. Real connection begins the moment we stop performing and start being honest. But honesty feels risky. It makes us vulnerable. It asks us to remove the mask we've spent years building. Many of us learned very early in life that being strong meant hiding our emotions. We believed we had to solve every problem on our own. We thought asking for help would make us look weak. So we became experts at saying, "I'm okay," even when we weren't. We convinced ourselves that if we just kept moving, eventually the feelings would disappear. But emotions don't disappear simply because we ignore them. They often become stress, anxiety, exhaustion, or an emptiness we can't quite explain. Sometimes we become so busy surviving that we completely lose touch with ourselves. We know everyone's schedule, everyone's needs, everyone's expectations, but if someone asked us what truly brings us peace anymore, many of us wouldn't know how to answer. Think back to when you were younger, before life became so complicated, before responsibilities filled every hour of your day. There were probably things that made you genuinely excited. Maybe it was reading, drawing, listening to music, exploring nature, dreaming about the future, or simply laughing without worrying about tomorrow. Then life happened. Bills arrived, responsibilities grew, people depended on you. Without even realizing it, you slowly replaced curiosity with pressure. You stopped asking yourself what made you feel alive and started asking yourself only what needed to be done next. Somewhere along the journey, you confused productivity with purpose, and although they sometimes work together, they are not the same thing. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is permission to slow down long enough to hear your own thoughts again, not the thoughts influenced by social media, by the news, or by everyone else's opinions. Your own thoughts, the ones you've been too busy to listen to. Silence can feel uncomfortable at first because silence introduces us to ourselves. It reveals what we've been avoiding. It reminds us of dreams we've postponed, conversations we've never had, and emotions we've buried beneath endless distractions. But healing often begins exactly there, in those quiet moments when we stop running long enough to notice what our hearts have been trying to tell us all along, here's something I hope you'll remember. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean nobody loves you. It doesn't mean you'll feel this way forever. Sometimes loneliness is simply a signal, a gentle reminder that your soul is asking for something deeper than constant busyness. It's asking for real conversations, genuine relationships, meaningful moments, and perhaps most importantly, a better relationship with yourself. You don't need hundreds of people to understand you. Sometimes one honest conversation can change everything. Sometimes one person who truly listens is worth more than 1,000 people who only hear your words without understanding your heart. So tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. If you didn't have to impress anyone, if you didn't have to prove your worth, if nobody expected you to be perfect, who would you be? What dreams would you chase? What would you stop worrying about? What part of yourself have you been hiding because you thought the world wouldn't accept it? The answer to that question might be the first step toward becoming the person you've been missing all along. Life was never meant to be lived behind a mask. You don't have to carry every burden by yourself. You don't have to pretend you're okay every single day. You don't have to earn love by being perfect. You are worthy of kindness, of rest, of understanding, and of connection exactly as you are today. Maybe your life doesn't need a complete restart. Maybe it simply needs more honesty, more presence, and more compassion toward yourself. Because the moment you stop pretending to be someone you think the world wants, you finally create space for the person you were always meant to become. And perhaps that's the most beautiful kind of freedom any of us can ever find.